Origin Chess, and this is the most gangster politician ever, Cassius Marcellus Clay. Okay, this was called the fat electrician. Somebody told me in the comments that this, he makes a really good content story-wise like this. I'm pretty sure I used to react to a channel a long time ago. I don't know when. They also, did videos like this. I don't know why I stopped doing that. I even forgot the name of the channel. But yeah, so I guess it's something similar to that. The most gangster politician. Usually people, don't see politician as gangster at all. So this is kind of opposite of that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. And yeah, let's do it.
It's a riveting story. It was really good. All right, we gotta go. I gotta tell the internet about the guy I named you after, okay? You gotta go hang out with mom now. Today we're talking about the most gangster politician in American history. Ladies and gentlemen, Cassius Marcellus Clay, aka the Lion of Whitehall. Whitehall being his family home that he grew up in Kentucky as the son of one of the richest slave owners in all of America. While going to college at Yale to become a lawyer, he would attend a speech from a famous abolitionist by the name of William Lloyd Garrison, and that speech would change the entire trajectory of Cassius Clay's life as well as American history. It is at that moment that Cassius Clay decided he was not only going to be quietly opposed to slavery, but that he was actively going to fight against it. He would be set down the path to become the most influential abolitionist of all time. Oh God, forgot to do the ad. Hold on. Sorry for bothering the video. Real quick, this video is brought to you by the biggest sponsor of the channel and my favorite sporting goods store, Shields. They've got over 30 retail locations across the United States and an even better online store that I'm going to have linked down below, and if you use my code, you're going to get free shipping. They've got everything you could imagine there. This is where I got this shirt. It's where I got this backpack. All of it was on sale. It was a great deal. Again, use my code down below. You're going to get free shipping. Back to the video. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to mention, Muhammad Ali's original name was Cassius Clay. Yeah, he was actually named after this guy too. Anyways, back to the video. Bye-bye.
What? Really?
If you don't know at this point in time, there's basically two different camps you could fall into for being anti-slavery. You could be an abolitionist or an emancipationist. An emancipationist is somebody that wants to vote it out over time, over the next 5, 10, 20 years, versus an abolitionist, which is somebody that believes we need to end slavery right now, and they're willing to fight about it. And in the case of Cassius Clay, he was willing to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. You see, Cassius Clay wasn't just some nobody punk kid that went off to college and decided that he didn't like slavery. This was the son of one of the wealthiest slave owners in all of America. So for him to come out and voice anti-slavery views was a huge deal, and it pissed
Basically, that statement is so good, right? Any punk kid. Basically, that's what happens when you at least reach middle teenagers, right? Basically, you're about to go to college or whatever. That is the mindset of a lot of people. I know better, right? I just have this profound feeling of freedom, right? I'm just morally better than everyone. That's basically woke culture today, right? I know better than anybody else came before me, even though I've been thinking anything outside of myself, like anything free thought for less than 2 years. But yeah, I know better. So like any punk kid who's just like, yeah, that's such a great description. But yeah, I didn't know that, Muhammad Ali's name was Cassius Clay, which means this guy was really gangster. How the fuck I never heard of this? Like, obviously this, I feel like this should be bigger if that's the case. At least about the Muhammad Ali thing, this should have been the case. Like, I don't know how I don't know about this.
off a lot of people. So, being that this was the 1820s, what do you do when you're pissed off? You challenge somebody to a duel. So needless to say, the young Cassius Clay found himself partaking in an awful lot of duels, and he never ever lost. So, obviously he's pretty good at it, and what do you do when you find something you're pretty good at? You want to keep doing it, right? Right. So Cassius Clay starts challenging anyone and everyone to a duel that dares to oppose him. It became common knowledge in his community that Cassius Clay would be willing to fight the wind if it blew from the west and he wanted it to blow from the east. This man went on a dueling rampage, so much so that by the time he graduated college, he was considered to be the deadliest duelist in all of North America. This guy was putting slave owners in the dirt like he was Johnny Appleseed planting fucking trees. He became known as the deadliest abolitionist of all time. So he graduates from college, goes back home as a lawyer. Shortly after that, his father passes away and leaves everything to Cassius Clay. Cassius Clay immediately frees.
I like how around this time, right, being deadly was actually a thing. Nowadays, if you want to understand like who's actually deadly, you'd like to think like some military veteran, like some Navy SEAL or something with some record that maybe you know of. Like in today's world, in society, like with laws and everything, being deadly is like not, really not okay. Like even if you want to defend yourself or something, that's like always a gray area, right? But back in the day where duel was a real thing, like you can duel and it's legal, you can legally kill people, right? This like from playing some kind of video game or something, right? You can only kill people in fucking video games. That's how people vent nowadays when playing games or in basically watching movie. But around this time, imagine this guy's actually deadly, right? People actually fear him. So imagine his mentality and everybody's around his mentality, right? When he's walking around, basically doing anything, and it's legal to kill people by challenging people to duel. So imagine people's fear, actual fear.
All of his father's slaves, costing himself $40,000, which is roughly $2 million today. And then he even gives some of the slaves land and money on top of it. Absolutely infuriating the pro-slavery people in Kentucky.
He's all in.
What do you do when half the local population hates your guts? You run for public office, and that's exactly what Cassius Clay did. He served in the Kentucky state legislature from 1835 to 1841, and then finally lost his re-election, to which the pro-slavery crowd breathed a huge sigh of relief because they finally defeated Cassius Clay, or so they thought. Clay immediately starts traveling the country, giving amazing anti-slavery speeches, winning over hearts and minds, and this absolutely infuriates the...
Yeah, again, I don't want to make this comparison to Trump, even though it's not completely, same, but still. Right? Everybody hates, so basically applies to Trump as well. Second time he lost, same thing, but I guess he's coming back as well now. And seeing how things are, basically trailing, there's a high chance Trump is going to be president next time. So, it's not the same comparison, but that way it's kind of same.
Pro-slavery people because they don't know how to stop him. You can't legally stop a guy from talking to people that want to listen to him, and they can't legally kill Cassius Clay in a duel because he's the best duelist on earth. What do? You've got to illegally kill him. The problem with that is they can't find a hitman that's dumb enough to think that they can take out Cassius Clay, so they have to go to the one crevice of the planet where they can find somebody truly insane enough to think that they can do this job. And that man's name was Sam Brown, an assassin from New Orleans. 1834, Russell Cave, Kentucky. Cassius Clay's finishing up one of his world-famous speeches as he pulls out a burlap sack, reaches into the sack and pulls out a holy Bible and says, "For those of you that believe in the laws of God, I make to you this argument against slavery," sets the Bible on the table, reaches back in the sack, pulls out a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and says, "For those of you that believe in the laws of man, I present to you this argument against slavery," sets the Constitution down on the table, drops a burlap sack to the ground and says, "For those of you that believe in neither the laws of God or man, I make to you this argument against slavery," as he pulls out both of his pistols and sets them on the table, which I think we can all agree is gangster as fuck. And at this moment, Sam Brown comes up on stage.
This shit is straight out of Hollywood, but then again, that's like, this guy is apparently the most American guy that probably ever lived, right? Because being American, let's just say, as at least people think of, is something like this. That's why all the action movies kind of reflect this, right? This is like one of the Hollywood action movies for this particular reason, right? Freedom, fighting for your freedom, just being badass all around with Second Amendment guns and shit. So, back in the day, like, this feels like one of the most gangster things ever. And, every time, like, he said, like, you can't really kill him. And I'm like, I'm in my head, I'm like, why not from the distance? Then I realized, wait a minute, around this time, sniper rifles probably didn't exist. Long-range weapons like that, right? And that's why, people like basically Cassius can be more, I guess, badass and fearless, right? But that won't be the case few years later or whenever, right? When the long-distance weapons are introduced. I don't know who made that joke, but there was a certain, like, somebody made a short about it or not. But whenever the, long-distance guns become a thing, people change completely. Because you can be a badass if you have, certain type of trust in your skills. Like, you can just take down anyone, like basically my, Cassius here, right? But if somebody can just take you out from the distance, like how assassination happened with JFK and everything, right? Then everything changes. Like, it's way too easy to kill anyone.
And shoots Cassius Clay point blank in the chest. Luckily, Cassius Clay never leaves home without his trusted Bowie knife, which resides inside of a metal sheath. And that metal sheath would catch Sam Brown's bullet, saving Cassius Clay's life. At which point, Cassius Clay would draw his Bowie knife and charge Sam Brown. 6 of Sam Brown's friends in the audience tried to stop Cassius Clay. He would fight his way through all 6 of them, making his way to Sam Brown, promptly stabbing him in the chest, and then turning him into a Mr. Potato Head by cutting off his nose, lopping off his ear, and gouging out one of his his eyes. Then the
Oh.
6 men recovered and were able to peel Clay off of him. Not knowing what to do, knowing they couldn't stop Cassius Clay forever, they panicked, probably for fear that Cassius Clay was going to start shoving this guy's facial features up his ass next. They did the only thing they could come up with to get the two apart. They picked up their friend Sam Brown, threw him over a 7-foot-high stone wall. He fell down an embankment and into a creek bed to finally get Cassius Clay away from him. Somehow,
Damn.
Sam Brown survived, but not only was he lucky for that, he was also dumb as fuck because
Okay, I don't understand this. Like, how are 6 people can really pin down one guy? It doesn't matter who the one guy is, right? Like, I don't understand that part. Why didn't there 6, all of them all jumped at once, just try to pin him down, do nothing else but just pin him until their friend can get away or something? Because 6 people is 6 people in the end, right? Like, I don't know. I guess they just thought that they would never be able to jump Cassius like that, right? He would just evade, basically just move around them or something because he was too good, I guess. I don't know. So they just panicked and throw their friend away just to safety. This is ridiculous, man.
he then decided to take Cassius Clay to court because apparently after Cassius Clay stabbed him the first time, they were even on the whole assassination attempt thing, so Cassius Clay should go to prison for mayhem. So Cassius Clay calls upon his older cousin, one of the best lawyers on the planet.
I want to say that's stupid, but maybe, just like how duels exist, maybe there was some kind of a law, like if somebody attacks you, you can attack them back once or something, and it makes sense. Because otherwise, like, how does this work? Like, okay, I tried to kill you, but you tried to kill me once, well, that's it. You can do it twice, like, it's like some kids playing game or something.
That had never lost in open court with over 40 years of experience, Henry Clay. Henry Clay goes into court and his entire defense for his cousin is, and I quote, "Your Honor, this is just standard behavior for a Kentuckian." And the judge is just like, "You're innocent. Free to go, that's it. Best court case ever." Literally walks in and just goes,
I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
So after Cassius Clay was found innocent, Henry Clay decides that he's going to run for president, and Cassius is going to help him campaign. Cassius is going to tour the country, giving speeches, saying, hey, vote for my cousin. Here's the rule with that. Henry Clay told him he's only allowed to tour the northern states because he's actually legitimately concerned that if he sends Cassius to the south, he's going to shoot so many fucking slave owners in duels that it could be considered voter fraud. So Henry Clay ends up losing the presidential election, and Cassius moves on to his next life adventure, which is becoming an author and writing anti-slavery news articles. The problem with that was none of the newspapers were willing to publish him, so he says, fuck you, I'll start my own newspaper, The True American. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, starting an anti-slavery newspaper in fucking Kentucky in 1845 was not very popular, and his business would receive death threats pretty much every day, some of which were written in blood. So Cassius Clay, in true Cassius Clay fashion, says, fuck it, I guess we're gonna fight about it. He then proceeds to up-armor his entire business and his printing office. He covers the entire front of the office in a large iron sheet. He installs several cannons down corridors, stocks the entire thing with loaded guns, and rigs it to explode.
Seriously, man, this guy is so fucking badass in a way, right? Like, he sees everything like, oh, you want this, you come get it type of mentality. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, even, oh, somebody's gonna attack my press, fuck this. I'm gonna armor the press up and put cannons there. Who thinks like that? This is some next level shit. This guy's like, I can't crush anything that comes front of me.
Here's the thing, he also doesn't expect his employees to fight to the death for him, so he installs an escape hatch and instructs them to escape if anything goes down, because he's going to fight the entire mob by himself. How's he going to do that? As soon as you walk in the only door to get into that printing office, you find yourself in a long, narrow corridor with iron on each side, just wide enough for a single man to get through. Cassius Clay is going to stand in that narrow corridor and fight the entire mob one man at a time. Literally the mentality of, if you have a problem, take a number, I'll kill you in a minute. This man recreated the entire battle of fucking Thermopylae with 300 Spartans, except he's gonna do it all by himself. If you think fucking with John Wick's dog is a bad idea, the last thing you want to do is fuck with Cassius Clay's printing press, because this man is determined to defend the freedom of speech with the right to bear arms at any cost. Obviously, this escalates to Cassius Clay defeating an entire mob single-handedly. Right? Wrong. The mob, being full of, super brave pro-slavery men that know they're doing the right thing, do the honorable brave thing and wait till Cassius Clay is bedridden with typhoid fever, so they know he isn't going to show up. They show up to his...
I mean, let's be honest, at a larger scale, like anything's permitted in whatever, right? And when it comes to war or anything war-like things. So, of course, they're going to look for any weaknesses that you might have, basically getting sick, right? They'll basically strike when it's like perfect time. right? And they know like this guy is like basically way too much badass, nearly insane, that will kill anything. So they're not going to risk anything during that time. So it kind of makes sense. Like anybody who's seen like how global politics works, how wars and tactics works, yeah, this I could have seen this coming. So yeah, obviously they're gonna exploit anything. I feel like this is gonna end badly. Is it? Because this is real history, right? It's not a Hollywood movie. So I feel like end is going to be something like, really sad end. I'll be surprised if it's not. But the way things are going and the way he's like brute, badass mentality he has, something will catch up to him, right? That's how it's gonna end.
His business at night and burn the place to the ground because they're a bunch of fucking bitches. Now, Cassius Clay recovers from typhoid fever. He reestablishes a newspaper in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is an anti-slavery stronghold. The only problem with that is being an anti-slavery stronghold, there's not going to be any conflict, and that's fucking boring, so Cassius Clay moves on to another life adventure, volunteering in the Mexican-American War. While serving in the Mexican-American War, he would be a captain leading a group of Kentucky soldiers, and they would be captured pretty much immediately, and he would spend the duration of the entire war as a POW. While serving as a POW, some of the men under his command would escape, meaning that the Mexican military was then going to put the rest of his unit to death. Cassius Clay said, "Hey, don't kill my men, just kill me and my other fellow officers. We're the ones in charge. It's our fault that those men escaped. It's our responsibility. Please let the lower enlisted men go home." The Mexican military was so impressed by this that they decided to spare everyone, including Cassius Clay, and he would return home a war hero. Returning home from the war in 1848, he didn't really know...
I'm a bit surprised, like when he learned, like, oh, look at that, they're gonna let us go. Like, oh, that's boring. I thought they're gonna put us to death. Like, action is anything. Well, even if I die, action is the only thing that matters.
to do, so he starts giving his famous speeches again, this time leveraging his newfound title as a war hero. So obviously it doesn't take long for him to piss everybody off. He faces yet another assassination attempt. This time 6 brothers from a wealthy slave-owning family show up, the Turner brothers. They show up with clubs and knives and guns, and they beat the living shit out of Cassius Clay with the clubs. They stabbed him multiple times. Cassius Clay whips out his trusted Bowie knife, starts opening up these brothers like they're fucking Amazon packages, making his way to the lead brother and stabbing him an excessive amount of times. We don't know how many times, but we do know it was a lifetime supply. Killing the lead brother, ending the assassination attempt.
How many times you have to tell somebody says official word would be excessive? Like, what is excessive? 10, 20, 30? What is the number?
Cassius Clay would fall to the ground, nearly dead, and this would be the closest anybody ever came to actually killing Cassius Clay. When he was asked about it later on in life, all he said was, "I felt the utmost indignation," which translates to, "I was fucking annoyed." This man almost died from an assassination attempt, and he has the same attitude towards it that I have towards fucking fruit flies, okay? This dude is so metal, he deserves his own spot on the periodic table of elements. Cassius Clay then makes a full recovery from his injuries, starts giving his speeches again. 1853, he
Doesn't that just, what he said, doesn't that kind of translate also mean like he feels bad that he came to that position in the first place? Maybe he should have been better type of things. That's what he's saying, right? Like maybe I should have been better or something. I don't know. That's what I felt like when hearing that. I don't know. But yeah, this is like, after hearing like how he got his ass beat by clubs, I thought like this is going bad way. But no, it didn't. It's just like, okay, you're going to beat me with clubs, I'm going to open you up. He just fucked up everybody. Seriously, how is there's no movie about this? Like, this is as Hollywood as it can get. Hollywood has way too many action stars that's just like, sitting and twiddling them thumbs, doing nothing. This would work, right? This would work with like, good app, somebody who fits this kind of a thing. Hell, fuck it, even Rock can do it. Why not? Who cares at this point? Any action star basically making this movie would be insane.
Donates a large chunk of his land to John Fee, who uses it to found Berea College, the first co-educational and multiracial college in the South ever. Fast forward to 1860, Cassius Clay is giving speeches in Illinois where he meets a politician by the name of Abraham Lincoln, and they get along great. Cassius Clay is then slotted to become Abraham Lincoln's vice president. However, he's a little bit too Cassius Clay to be an actual big-name politician like that, so they give the job to Hannibal Hamlin, and Cassius Clay becomes the ambassador to Russia. 1861 rolls around, the Civil War breaks out. Cassius Clay is in Russia. Cassius Clay not only convinces Russia...
Okay, I don't know, like, what the fuck, like... Okay, first of all, they know his reputation, right? They know how badass he is, right? He's literally known as Deadliest Duelist or whatever of Northern America. They know how strongly he feels about anti-slavery. And Lincoln, of all people, wouldn't have said like he's better aid to me here rather than me sending him to Russia. If all the people, why would you send him to Russia? Don't you need him there because of obviously coming civil war or whatever? I don't know. He could have, from the feel I got from the Civil War, that United Union, what is it called, right? Confederacy versus Union, right? Union had really less, let's just say, expert generals and things, right? Well, the Confederacy had a lot. That's the feeling I got. So they could have used someone like Cassius, wouldn't they?
To not side with the Confederates, but he convinces Russia to tell Great Britain and France that if they so much as recognize the Confederacy, Russia will go to war with them. And this was a humongous step that nobody talks about in the winning of the Civil War. And it is 100% because of Cassius Clay. Fast forward to 1862, Abraham Lincoln wants to appoint Clay a major general in the Union Army. Cassius Clay...
Wait a minute, so you're telling me the UK at the time obviously having anti-slavery element, but also had certain, conflicted things because they also needed Confederacy in whatever they were buying from there. Their business was getting affected. So you're saying that one of the reasons that they didn't back Confederacy is because of Cassius Clay and his whatever, whatever gamble he played with the Russian thing? This guy has hands in a lot of key important historical events. Why does nobody talk about him? This is insane.
Clay publicly refuses the President of the United States, saying that he's not going to do it until the President signs the Emancipation Proclamation freeing the slaves of the South. Cassius Clay is literally the man that bullied Abraham Lincoln into prematurely signing the Emancipation Proclamation before he wanted to. And nobody talks about it. Fast forward again to 1865, the Union wins the Great American Scrimmage, the slaves are freed. Cassius Clay has achieved his lifelong goal at the age of 55, bringing an end to slavery in the United States of America. He then goes back to Russia again to serve as ambassador until 1869, and while he is there, he helps to broker the purchase of Alaska. This man is probably the most influential person in American history that...
Oh, by the way, here you go, my gift to you, United States, Alaska. He's behind Alaska as well. How many things he just does it? Like, only guy comes close to this in this kind of achievement is like in scientific field, I think, is Isaac Newton, right? All the shit he did and some of the discoveries that should be bigger, but he just like did it as a like, okay, it's like a side piece. I don't care about that. This is the only guy I can think of that's at that level. That guy is scientific, this guy in this kind of world global scale level. Like, this is insane. All the things he did, like, some of the things is like his side things are really major events. Seriously, nobody talks about him. How the fuck nobody talks about him? Even in YouTube, I'm pretty sure I've never seen a video that says Cassius Clay, this and that. Even any animated history, there is a lot of channels now. This is the only guy I've seen talking about him. How is this much thing? One guy did this much things. Should be like a poster child for a lot of things. Is not. How is that possible? Like, his main thing was anti-slavery. People can definitely use that today. Like, if you go in, like, 19th century, something can be, really gray or something like, let's just say, he was pro-slavery, this and that, so we can't talk about it. I understand that. But this guy was anti-slavery. You can definitely use this. You can, show this as a poster of America or something. Like, make multiple movies out of it. Nobody did. Right? In YouTube, you can make a lot of videos about it. Nobody's doing that. With all this kind of achievements he had, come on.
You've never heard of. After returning home from Russia, Cassius Clay would live out the rest of his days in Whitehall until the age of 80 years old, where he would be declared clinically insane, in hindsight most likely due to a severe amount of PTSD, as well as potentially dementia. He didn't die from it, he lived on for quite a bit longer. He just picked up a new hobby of fucking with the local sheriff because he was crazy now. Over the course of the next decade, Clay and the sheriff would have multiple...
Why do I feel like he wasn't really, clinically crazy, but he just like, okay, life is boring now. Might as well go crazy. At least we can have some fun out of this.
Run-ins that would be concluded when the sheriff and 7 deputies were repelled from Whitehall when Clay utilized his home defense cannon that he had at the top of his stairwell. At that point, the local sheriff would inform the local judge he will not be returning to Whitehall to tangle with Cassius Clay anymore unless the judge was willing to dispatch an entire company of the local militia to accommodate him. Then in 1900, 2 men would break into Whitehall, and Cassius Clay at the age of 89 would manage to kill both of them, one by gunshot and...
How the fuck he's doing that at 89? 89 is a big fucking number. How are you? First of all, people are surprised when people just walk at 89. And this is in 19th century. People didn't used to live as much as today. Like 89 should be 100 of today, right? How is he doing all this shit?
Won yet again with his trusted Bowie knife. Then in 1903, at the age of 92, Cassius Clay would die of natural causes, or as they called it back then, general exhaustion, which is the most gangster way on the planet to go out. Literally just, I'm
Seriously?
tired now, peace. And then he left.
That is seriously gangster, because I really thought this end is coming badly, like I said in the start of the video, like something's bad coming, but it didn't. It just died naturally. Like, you know, this is the biggest F you anybody gave anyone, right, ever. After all this history, none of you can touch me.
I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.
In conclusion, when it comes to famous historical household names, there's always another man or woman lurking behind the scenes in the shadows that's deemed too rough around the edges to be in the spotlight, yet they contribute just as much, if not more, to the movement. These men and women are willing to do horrific things for terrific reasons. And when it came to Abraham Lincoln and the abolition of slavery...
I mean, you talk like, you know, there are people in the world who's like really key important figure, right? At least at global scale. Right? People with glasses sitting in offices, not coming in front of camera, doing important things. That wasn't Cassius Clay. He did important things, but he wasn't some guy with glasses sitting in the background. He was one of the baddest guy of all time, right? He's something that you can sell to the people. So how the fuck he's not being, you know, talking a lot? Like, people don't know about him a lot. Movies, TV, you know, videos, or something, man. He's not some guy working in the background who's just like normal person. He was badass. Like, this is some insane shit.
That man's name was Cassius Marcellus Clay, the most gangster politician in American history. Thanks for watching the video. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch.
But calling him politician is like an understatement. He was just badass guy. Politician was just part of it. Okay, he wanted to become a politician. That's what that was. He even, like, you know, went to a war certain but then went to Russia or some shit. By the end, he went insane, and while being insane, he just fucked everything up and died by exhaustion, as the term says. God, this was insane. This story was insane. Seriously, I need to search about this guy more. Like, how is nobody talking about it? Or did I miss something? Like, was there a movie? Was there a show? Because I haven't heard of it. Right? I know mainstream things, so I definitely know if there is any TV show, movie made about him. It wasn't mainstream. I would have heard of it. This is insane. Right? Well, that was the most gangster politician ever, Cassius Marcellus Clay. I need to remember that name. Very few figure from the history you can think that is equal to this. This was my channel, The Fat Electrician. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you next time.